morning, everyone. Chill Girl Chrissy here, Alderman in Ward 6. Here to fuel your mind, body, and soul with goodness. Open up, share, be real, be raw, overcome, let go, and lift each other up. And I am super excited. I'm here with my good friend from decades and decades, Bob, who has been taking care of so many people in our amazing industry, our beauty and well-being industry. Bob Nelson from Macello's. And thank you, Bob, for being here.
Great to be here.
Oh my gosh, you have been you've been a rock in our industry for decades.
Thank you.
And decades. When we have problems or we have, oh, we want this or we want that, who do we call? Bob. Bob has all the answers. He comes from a great company, Macello's, and I can't say enough. I mean, there's a lot of great companies out there,
Yes.
but at Chill Spa, we specifically work with Macello. And there's just, I don't know.
They're good people, and that's been in business over 105 years.
Yeah.
All family. They've always put people first, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
They believe in the relationships. They truly. And a lot of people give lip service to it, but the reality is they come back with, if you're not successful, then we can't be successful.
Yeah.
And it's true all the way. Our patriarch right now is 84 years old, 83, 84. Sorry, Ron. But he's got the energy of a 16-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. And the thing that gets him going is to sit and talk with people like you and mm-hmm. get ideas. And in fact, I think we actually walked him through Chill Day Spa one day.
Yes.
He was already trying to figure out ways to cut the walls down and move things around. And
I love it.
But he still talks about that. That how much you do out of a small space. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that touch people like that. Mm-hmm. And for me, knowing that I could walk into any salon and whatever I say, I know they're going to be behind me. Mm-hmm. And that makes the job so much easier.
So you love where you work because
Absolutely.
You're supported. And I always thought you were an owner. I really did. I think when you have so much pride in the company you work for, you just, I don't know, you just feel like, oh, that person's just going to take care of me, and guide us along the way. And, we carry your hair color, we take your classes. I have an amazing rep, Cassie.
Oh, she's
the
best.
Oh my gosh, she's unbelievable. And I'm all over there. All back and forth, bing, 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 bing. And Cassie's there to pick up the pieces and make sure
Absolutely.
we have everything that we need. And it's just the support and the love of our industry. I just really, really appreciate it.
This industry is, I will tell you, 33 years ago, I entered this industry. I was only going to be here for about a year while I figured out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it had just, the caring, the way they work, and I say the stylists, these salon owners. It's funny, we have a lot of cosmetologists that will become nurses, mm-hmm. and a lot of nurses that become cosmetologists. And people look and scratch their head. Nah, it makes sense because you're taking care of people.
Yeah,
and
that's
you're making them. Our industry is one that you can walk in the door just having a miserable day, mm-hmm. and the right hairstylist will uplift you, and you walk out feeling like $1 million.
Yes.
And I see that all day long. So that's how from our company standpoint, it's how can we help them, to help more people and to reach out and become part. What can we do to make their lives easier? Yeah. And it's right. You got so much going on. Cassie's like, I'll take care of that. I'll take care of this. But that's what she's there for. She's there to make it so that you don't have to worry about the mundane things of this
mm-hmm.
industry.
Yeah.
So and that's what we're about. We've been around for 105 years, the fourth generations. Mm-hmm. We're the oldest, I believe in the country, the oldest family distributor. But I know we are in New England.
Wow. And so we happen to carry Moroccan, which, I love their story, the family business.
Oh, my God.
You know, the owner's hair gets fried.
Yeah, she
ends
just
up
want to
in
go to a wedding.
Yeah. Argan oil, saves her.
Yeah.
And then the brand begins. The passion and the commitment for people, community, lifting people up. That's what I love about being in this beauty industry.
Yeah.
It is so deep. There's nothing surface about us hairdressers,
No.
estheticians, and so forth, and the people that support us. So I can't say enough great things about Micello.
Thank you.
And first of all, the brands, we love them. And, you know,
We as a company make a conscious decision of who we're going to deal with also. Because they have to be, I hate to say the word quality, but that's really what it is. They have to be a quality. They have to believe and have the same passion for the industry that we do. And all of the companies we work with are pretty much family owned. And we find that that's the relationship, because we need to be able, you know, if Chrissy needs something at Chill Day Spa, I need to be able to handle that. I should be able to get a hold of someone and say, let's take care of this.
Yeah.
And you know, we don't deal with the corporations and that. So it's been really well.
And for me, I'm a local girl, and I want hands-on. So that's why it works for me. I don't. We use a little Amazon, but really don't want to use Amazon.
Nope.
You know, for me, I want to build relationships and work from there. And I think what the unique thing is, Bob, is, you know, I've known you for decades. You know, from the Mad Hatter years. My good friend Cheryl Bigu, who was my first job, gave me my first job.
Cheryl has started a lot of salons.
Yeah,
She's trained and trained them properly.
Yes, work ethic. Can't say enough great things. Literally, I just can't say enough great things about Cheryl. I just love her. And I was able to see her the other day. You know, life is busy, but it's nice when we can reconnect. But I think what's wild is how rooted you are in New Hampshire, and your family's story, and about saving the mills. And I just, for me, I'm running for mayor because I love Manchester.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we deserve more, and we deserve better. And I just, for me, I'm like, to hear your story of how rooted. And I think that it's like, this is, our community really means a lot to everyone.
Absolutely.
And we all need to be a part of the solutions.
Absolutely, we should join in. It's, you know, I tell you, I grew up in the Bronx, New York, and when
Which
I say
my
that,
dad did too. Did you know that?
No, I think I think you did tell me that, and we have to connect at some time to see how close. I was in the Bronx last night, so, but the first 8.5 years of my life were in the Bronx. And we moved up here. My father actually got a summer place in New Hampshire before we moved, and I had a hard time sleeping at night because it was so quiet and so dark, as opposed to living in the Bronx.
Yeah.
But my mother was from Manchester, Ruth Ball, one of 7, and my father was stationed at Grenier Airfield as the close of World War II came down, and he came across my mother. He used one of the classic pickup lines: "Where's a good place to go dancing?"
Ooh.
And
that's the best line.
they connected, and when they got married, moved to New York, my father made a promise that eventually he would bring her back. And in the 67, 68, my father was talking with Ken Harlan, my Uncle Kenny, and Ken told him about an opportunity that they were thinking about doing something with the mills here in Manchester. And my father sat down with Romy Dorvell and a few other people. I believe William Loeb was actually part of that too. And my father was working for Robert Moses in Manhattan. He had an office actually in the Empire State Building.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And my sister Joan and my brother Bill would actually, they actually worked there in the summers. Yeah, that was their summer job.
Joan lives in Ward 6.
Yep.
Oh my God, I love her.
Many people will know her as the former tax collector.
Superstar.
Yep. I'm not sure I should connect my name with hers today, but but I think she'll be okay with it.
What a woman.
Oh God,
I love her.
I tell you, I have some of the best. Very blessed with the best siblings.
Yeah.
My brother and I have 2 sisters. One we lost to a drunk driver.
Oh,
but
I'm so sorry.
But Joan is amazing. Joan was programming computers in the 70s, So
Wow.
with little cards inside, it's still amazing. But yeah, we moved up here. My father took the job,
Yeah.
and at that time, the city of Manchester couldn't decide if they wanted to bulldoze the millyard or save it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bulldozing came from the emotions, because the Amiskey Textile Company did a lot for this city. They built Gill Stadium. They essentially laid out the city, and if you were to take a bird's eye view of Manchester, it's pretty much a north, south, east, west grid, and that's
Yeah.
they laid it out. They did a lot for them. But then towards the end, they just turned their back on the city, and it was bad planning, bad management,
Yep.
bad foresight.
That's interesting. As I think it's just continue on, but you know, I have a problem with you know, the Beach Street School being developed in the park across the street from Beach Street School. I did not vote for that. I don't believe we should have taken away a park from the inner city, and that is part of the Amiskeg. They let it go, but the aldermen voted yes to let it go. I did not vote for it. I know Joe Kelly Lavasser did not vote for it. I didn't vote for it. I'm not too sure about everyone else. I'll have to like look that up, but it passed.
Yeah.
To give that park away for the $80 million Beach Street School that's going to be built there, which is not going to help the inner city. I mean, to take away a park from the kids is just unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
You know, in my late teens, early 20s, I lived next door to John Trishani, and it was also connected with Joe Trishani. John Trishani was instrumental in a lot of the sports and the things that clubs did in the city. In fact, he got me involved with Pony League Park, and then you know, building that and creating an area, and it's something for kids, and that's important. You know, having that sense of community, that sense of belonging. But yeah, I agree with you. It's you got to be able to bring communities together in areas.
Yeah.
And that's you know, and I think that's why people were so mad at the end of the the Amiskey Textile, that they had been the one that had been the glue for the city, and then at the end they just walked away.
Wow.
And yeah, they had the attitude of let's tear it down for the anger of that was a symbol of who they were.
Oh my God.
So when my father came in, he was more. He worked with Moses in New York. And one of the projects he worked on actually was my father. It was Lincoln Square. My father actually named Lincoln Square.
It's amazing. I got goosebumps.
So he brought that to this city and looked at it and said, you know, we can save these buildings. There's no reason to tear them down.
Right.
But you've got to, you know, and I don't know how many people really remember at this point, but there were 2 canals that went through the millyard. Commercial Street was a canal, and then there was another one north of that. The railroad tracks ran through the millyard, so you had to move the railroad tracks to make his plan work. And God, B&M did not want to. They fought him at every step. And
Wow.
I know he was. I think he died at 102. I think at 102 he was still cursing B&M. But they did move the railroad tracks.
The fact that he never gave up, and that's the big thing here, is never give up on your community. If you believe something, we need to stand up.
Yeah, you think about how bad things could be. The first months he's on the job, he finds out the mill, Arms Park, was a mill.
Okay.
And he finds out that one is full of anthrax. And had to, working with the Army Corps of Engineers, they had to tent the entire building and burn it on site for it to be safe.
God.
And this is something that he had to work with for a while, because you can't just tear it down because it'll spread the anthrax. And
yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that was one of the. So in the beginning of his career, this is one of the things he's dealing with.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
What a remarkable man. So, Joe Nelson, can you share the picture of Joe and Ruth, Bob's parents, Brendan? Oh, right there.
This is actually, so This is the house my father had built. Did a little bit of the design work on it, but built. And my mother, Ruth Ball, a lot of people would know that name. I think I told you one time she had 3 sisters. The 4 of them worked at what was originally called, and we have to be old to remember this, it was Bell Telephone.
Yep.
And they worked there, and her maiden name was Ball, so they would actually call it Ball Telephone because my Aunt Kay and my Aunt Mickey, and I think you know Henry Montpleasure's
Yes,
mother.
Hank Montpleasure.
Yep. And so the 4 of them working there, and my Aunt Dottie Danielson, they control it. And because of that job, she met my father, because she was the switchboard operator.
Oh.
And that's how my father came across her.
That's amazing. And he kept his promise.
Yes.
Because, there is an article I want to link with our show. Manchester Inkling did a beautiful job. I loved hearing that your dad, coming from the Bronx, he gave up his $17,000 job to come take a pay cut for $13,000 to save the mills. And to me, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you to your father and your mother,
He made it work.
and to your family, the commitment you have had in Manchester.
Yeah, you talk about and that's where my sister Joan does a lot of volunteer work. My sister Margaret was a school teacher and did a lot above and beyond the requirements for that. When we started with Pony League Park, my brother jumped in and coached. So, we got that sense of community from our parents.
Yeah.
And it was very important.
It's in your DNA.
Yes, absolutely.
You saw it, you did it, and
it's such a great city.
It really is.
Just the whole state is wonderful. But having grown up, I was lucky to grow up in Manchester because of the people I met and my relatives, and they're giving back. My cousin Kathy, ironically, has now come around and taken the job my father had. Actually, she's exceeded what my father did.
That's amazing.
With the housing authority. And my other cousins in the area, the mural that was painted in the
Can
millyard.
you share that mural again?
Is Dave?
Oh.
I know I'm going to kill his last name. Hadad.
Okay.
His mother-in-law is actually my cousin Donna, and so the connections from there. And this is how the story, because my cousin was talking about her Uncle Joe, and explaining, because Dave's company did a lot of stuff in the city, the Cat Alley and a few other things.
Oh, yes. Brendan, can you show the beautiful artwork?
Yeah, so this was his vision, and he listened to what my cousin said about my father, and it came to him that, the giant kind of holding up the millyard. And if you look down at the bottom by the feet, there are people walking by. He actually modeled one of those after my cousin. Wow. Because of the fact that in his shadow, she grew up in his shadow, she grew up to take his position. So there's a lot behind that mural.
It's so beautiful, and I didn't know. First of all, I love the millyard, Riverfest. That just brings back so many great memories for me as a kid. We started with, last year we did the Chill Fest.
Yes.
And we're bringing that back again. It's going to be outside the Stark Brewery. We partnered with Stark Chill Cares, and Stark are bringing back Chill Fest every Friday night in July and August after the 4th of July.
That's great.
We love our community, and we want to have free concerts down there.
They used to do concerts in Arms Park.
And that's why I was like, we need some real music and musicians, and let's lift people up. But I was just so drawn to all the art, because art makes me happy, music makes me happy. And then to come to find out that's your dad actually holding up the bridge. And he was the engineer leading the way.
You think about some of the things, if you had taken down the mills, knocked them all down, you wouldn't have had people like Dean Kamen in the millyard.
Yeah.
The original cover for the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan was with a lion's plate, was made here in Manchester.
Really?
There's a lot of things that came out of that millyard. Yeah. Of course, for the longest time, it was Pandora sweaters.
Yeah.
But all that stuff would have been gone if you had just knocked it down. and to bring this back. And I think, you know, I look at some of the people and some of the things. I do have to say, my father would not have been in favor of Dean Kamen's glass pyramid, but but that's his architectural part of him. But that should be a focal part of the city too. That should be a sense of pride. And I know that we had at one point a lot of apartments and stuff coming in there too, which was the architecture and the way these buildings were built. You know, it's just to be able to portray that as our city and to come through it. It should be a proud moment for us.
Totally. So proud. Yeah. I think when you go down and you just drive through and you see the beautiful brick buildings and now you see the beautiful artwork, and you were sharing how the artwork, and for me, not everyone loves, you know, artwork. You know, for me, art brings joy, brings color, it lifts people up, it shares stories, and stories need to be told.
Yeah.
And we can't remember where we came from. And that's why I was just like, oh my gosh, Bob, not only are you a great guy and you know,
Thank you.
You help my industry and you help my company and all of us Chill Girls, but sharing the history of Manchester, you know, and John Clayton, he does an unbelievable job.
Oh, God.
And he's the one that I believe wrote the article
Yeah.
for Inklink. You know, he just next levels incredible historian, you know.
You know, I really encourage, I get nothing out of this, that buying his books and following him, because, you know, if you're living here, you should know a little bit more about where this city came from. And we were the textile capital of the world until the mid-30s. But there's still a lot of history and a lot of the connections that we have for things that, you know, we should take that opportunity to celebrate.
Yeah.
And make sure we continue. You know, I'll even go back, you know, again, not tearing the buildings down is history.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, bring this back and here we came from and where they come. Make sure that you bring it into, you know, into usable. And that's one of the things he had. One of the things he did was make it so that you could actually drive a tractor trailer down the road as opposed to the horse-drawn when it was originally drawn. So, you know, taking it and still making it usable and having the two, which is where the urban renewal concept is that you can take what exists here, but we can bring it ahead and move it forward into the modern century.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
It's the perfect blend.
Absolutely.
You know, because we can't forget where we came from, and we do need to preserve.
Absolutely.
We want to move forward in a kind, compassionate way where we're honoring our roots.
Yeah.
But we really need to stay with our values.
Yes.
Where we put people in our community first. Not money, not greed, people. And let's not disguise it in anything else. So I'm just going to go back to the park. Don't take a park away from the inner city. The fact that they're doing that, I'm still irate, furious. And that was, when that happened, that next day, I'm like, I'm running for mayor. I'm like, this is unacceptable, you know. We can't keep raising people's taxes. We need someone who's going to keep their promises. Promises made, promises kept. That is going to be my motto. And going back to your dad, I'm like, I wish I got to meet him.
Yeah, he would have really loved your attitude. He would have loved talking with you. He really loved the city. I mean, he was born and raised in the Bronx.
Yeah.
But he came to really adapt, you know, in Manchester, and he was a Ward 6
he was
resident,
oh my gosh.
A very strong member of St. Pius Church. And,
that's so unbelievable.
Yeah, so it was the community was very important to him,
and you know
his faith.
And you know what? It's interesting because my dad came from the Bronx and moved up New England, went to New England College, and my aunt still stayed in Jersey. But my dad was like, this is his home, and he was grounded. Jeff Canner's Car World, it was Murray's Auto Parts back in the day. He was actually a Ward 6 guy too. You know, I think back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you know, it's called Capital Auto Auction now. But that was my family's, you know, salvage yard. I called it the junk yard because there's so many treasures. And Manchester's a special place, and clearly it's been known to be a special place for decades upon decades, because for people to come from other communities
Yeah.
and to fall in love and build it up and preserve it. And my dad was just like, you know, like, I don't know, it was like about 15 years ago. He's like, really, Chrissy, you know, yeah, you have a small business, but you need to get into the community. You got to get a little more involved. Even though I was involved in different ways, he's like, no, you need to do this and do that. And I'm like, oh, it's out of my comfort zone. I'm actually shy, which is kind of funny being a hairdresser.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of us that, you know, we just need to get a little more involved.
Just get past that first step.
Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid to step out and make a difference because, let's say, there are a lot of detractors.
Yeah.
So once you step out, everybody's willing to criticize. They're not willing to step up and spend the time,
Yeah.
but they're willing to criticize.
Totally.
So thank you for stepping up. It's such a beautiful city.
It is such a beautiful city, and I know we only have 2 minutes. And do you want to? What else do you want to share? You know what I mean? I'm grateful and blessed that you came on.
Yeah,
to
I
share
tell you
some
what,
history.
I thank you for the invitation. Like you said, we've known each other, I don't know, at least 20 years, maybe more. I mean, for someone who's only 30 years old, that's a long time. But just, you know, I want to thank you for what you do. You know, you say for what we do, but your business and the way you conduct your business is what our industry needs. You know, and we need that people out there that are working the business, that are stepping in and making customers feel good, that are continuing that part. Because without people like you, we don't have a business. So for me, it's, you know, thank you, and thank you for how you do it. I talk about you all throughout New England and upstate New York, that how hard you worked in the beginning, every Fisher Cat game, giving chair massages and samples and putting them out. But you did the work to make your business successful. And that's what you have to put that time in. It just because you open it, it's not the field of dreams. Just because you open it.
Right. That's so true. Well, thank you, Bob,
Thank
so
you.
much. And God bless Manchester. God bless America. And have a beautiful, and thank you for all who have served and protected our nation. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. And let's lift each other up. God bless.